May 4th, 2023. We rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Gabriel is not here. Tranby.
Here.
Zorn?
Here.
Oh yeah, here. And Edlund.
Here.
Wakefield's present. If you'll have a look at the agenda, we'll need an approval in that as it stands, or any
Can-
changes.
Can I add one thing? This is you, Rose, correct?
Yes, hi.
Can I, she's that on the Eli with the protest, can she be added to the agenda to speak? Please?
Sure can.
So, okay.
I didn't hear a thing you said.
So,
I put you on the agenda.
Thank you.
So-
yeah.
You're Scott, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've changed.
For good, for better, now we'll go.
We're older.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
Can I take one of these agendas here?
You sure can.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Ed,
Motion to approve the agenda by Tranby as presented. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Zorn. Any further discussion? Any more discussion? Or any further discussion? We will take a vote. All in favor for approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda approved. Now if you take a look at the April 20th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I think we need to have a change on the
Okay. Which one?
motion by Edlund to approve the Homeland Security grant. I think it's application, not the grant itself.
Okay.
You see that? Presented right here. Application.
Perfect.
Want me to amend the motion to put anything else on?
Um, Scott, read the one about the courthouse and see what you think about that. We not only were talking about raising it, we were talking about RAZE raising it. Hi, Josh. Josh joined the meeting. I think
Well,
possible solutions to the,
That's what we're talking, discussing.
yes, correct?
Yes.
So if you'll change that when you,
It wouldn't be, it's a little harsh to put raising it.
because there's other options.
There's our options, yeah.
All right, so maybe it should say
And-
discussion on the old courthouse and options,
think we also-
on the options concerning the old courthouse. Yeah.
Okay,
So Josh Averill joined the meeting. Hello, Josh.
I-
We're on the minutes for
Okay.
for the 20th. You wanted, we'll give you a little time to look through there.
So there was discussion on the options for the old courthouse.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
you got it.
Yeah, that'd be better.
You got it.
So when you get time, Samantha, if you'd read back those proposed changes to us, and then
Okay. So I have, motion by Edlin to approve the Homeland Security Grant application as presented, second by Tramby. And then there was discussion on the options for the new old courthouse.
so if that's all we have, we'll need a motion concerning the approval of the minutes as amended.
I'll make that motion. As amended.
As amended.
Yeah.
Yes. We have a motion by Tranby to approve the minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. Any further discussion on the meeting, April 20th meeting minutes? Barring no further discussion, we'll take the vote. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes and dispensing with the reading, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Minutes approved. If you look over the bills, there's quite a few of them here. Samantha, anything that was flagged that you saw?
Nope.
So So Sam, on page 5, the road department, $54,835 for
Which page?
5.
5.
Flood. That was,
So that was paid out to townships?
54. This one.
I guess I'm questioning whether it should be under the Griggs County Road Department budget or if it's a special account under flood. Because we've got a negative number here on it.
It went into flood, and it's going to the road department. Because we got 64, so then that would have been with the township payments, and we paid those out to their township, so then this would have been what's in for the county. Goes towards to,
But this shows payments out of $54,000.
out of the flood, to the road department. I'm not sure why he did it that way.
Well, no, this shows, this doesn't, so that would show income into the road department. This shows payments out of the road department.
No, that's showing payments out of the flood to 2022 account to the road department. Do you see that? So the reason that it's a negative is because we didn't have a budget in there. This is the amount of money we got for the flood 2022. So then they're just having it paid out to the road department out of the flood. So basically just swapping one account to the next.
So where did that take place then for the other townships? So the same process should have taken, so do we have it go into a township in the same manner?
You guys did that at the last meeting. They were in their tax, the city and township stuff here. And it was 5 townships. It was
Addie, Spurgeon, Tyrell, Clearfield. Oh, there was one more.
Lenora?
Yes, did I say that?
No.
I think it was those 5, yep.
So the total amount of the check into the flood was $61,479.
correct.
Mhm. 512. Oh, I see, there's a little bit of a balance left in it. Is that a 9 or a 4?
4, I think.
Okay, so that means. Were these, why was this paid to the road department?
Sam, do you want me to go grab those other vouchers from the townships?
No, I think that's fine.
Those are good.
Yeah, I think those are good.
I mean, typically what happens, it stays in the flood account until the road department actually expends the money until it's used for a project.
It says work has been 100% completed.
But we don't have any.
The one meeting that Wayne doesn't come to.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't really make any difference. We can flag this till next meeting.
Right.
That's fine.
I mean, that's not, it's all in-house anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's flag that. Anybody see anything else?
I'll make a motion to approve it except for the deletion of the Grace County Road Department for $54,835.80. Till next meeting, table it for next meeting.
We have a motion by Tranby to approve the bills as presented, less the road department transfer, or the transfer from the flood to the road department, which will have a look at next meeting. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Avriel. Any discussion concerning the bills? Any discussion? Pending no discussion, we'll take a voice vote. Avriel.
Aye.
Tranby.
Aye.
Zorn.
Aye.
Edlund.
Aye.
Wakefield votes aye. Bills approved. Take a look at the monthly office reports. This doesn't require any action by the commission, but if you have any questions, certainly raise them. Maybe one question of the treasurer, just so everybody understands. On the daily cash balance, the number in the balance forward in the upper left-hand corner, when does that change? Is that change monthly when the books are balanced?
In the top left, where balance forward, yep. So
That-
that was,
that's-
so then like the 5741 at the bottom, that
Yeah.
will then move to May's
Yeah,
at the beginning. Yep,
yeah. So that is the previous month's balance brought forward.
yes, yep, correct.
Okay. Maybe in the header on this balance forward, maybe you could put that explanation there. 'Cause that's kind of confusing to some people, me included. On a normal balance sheet, the balance brought forward, especially when they're done on a daily basis, the balance brought forward would be the previous day's balance brought forward.
You say balance forward previous month. That
Correct.
makes more sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly office reports.
Okay. Motion by Tranby to approve the monthly office reports. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Triple. Seconded by Edlund.
That was a special assessment.
Do we have any further discussion on the monthly office reports? Barring no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Office reports approved. 3 o'clock is Travis.
The State Historical Society, they're here.
What?
They're here.
Who's here?
The State Historical Society.
Oh, they are?
Yep,
Are they here in person or Zoom?
they're by Zoom.
Okay, well, let's ask, Rose, do you wanna go now with the
Yeah.
treasurer, or do you wanna wait and hear what the State Historical Society has to say in the old courthouse?
Or wait for what?
We're waiting for the Historical Society's discussion.
Oh,
of the
no,
courthouse.
if I could just go ahead now.
All right,
Okay.
so just a little lead up to this, there's been a protest filed for a special property tax on the drain south of town. What do they call that drain?
TB04.
Yeah, TB04. And there's a question on whether or not it was done correctly. It's before the commission, not because we can make a decision on this. This has nothing to do with us. This is just direction on which way to go in order to reach a resolution on this. And I believe this involves the water board, the treasurer, the auditor, and the state's attorney giving them legal advice, because of course this is nothing subjective about this. This procedure is all laid out in the Century Code. This has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. So we're just here as the venue to point people in the right direction. We're not here to make a decision on anything. With that,
Sorry.
go ahead.
My main question was just because I asked in my treasurer's group, because I wasn't sure right away, I haven't done a protest payment before, so I asked what the procedure was, and they all stated that you can't protest a special assessment. So that was where I was like, okay, well now I need to go to then Jamie. Jamie helped me out, sent me some stuff, and it states in there that a taxpayer can't protest their specials on water drains. And I know I talked to Samantha and Tom Dahl, and there was something with the water board that they figured out on their end was whatever it was, I don't remember what it was, something with that, the taxes. So that's where I'm wondering what I need to do with her payment, if I'm just supposed to apply it like normal, and then the water board would come in and
Well,
fix
that's, of
what they
course,
would need to, or
of course, that's not a decision of the county commission. This is, everything that is going to be done or has been done or should be done is all set out in the Century Code. So there is no subjective answering this question. It's, here's what should have been done, here's what could have been done, here's how it was done and was done correctly. So this is all a question for the state's attorney.
So, I did answer some of these questions. Under 57-2020, a person can make their tax payment under protest. In this situation, a special assessment for the water board or for a drain, the commission has nothing to do with. John is right about that. The commission has no authority to do anything with that.
And it goes back to the water board.
Well, not necessarily goes back to the water board either. From what I can see, there's actually an AG's opinion out on this exact topic that is right on point. It appears that it has to be appealed to either the State Water Commission or sued out in court. Now,
Which court?
it would have to be sued out in district court.
Just
There's two remedies that I can see. Now it sounds like that there was a mistake made in the assessment. So maybe looking at it, maybe the water board can fix that.
Internally,
But there is no procedure specifically for the water board that I can see to
That's
fix
right.
it.
Everything is to the advantage of the people who designed the law. So when you say it's objective from their point of view, but not from the victims of that law.
You're right. You're right. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to do it when you're wrong. That you're 100% correct. So what this specific opinion states is that specifically that it's inappropriate for the Board of County Commissioners to order adjustments, abatements, or refunds of special assessments imposed by the Water Resource District. The remedy of a taxpayer who is dissatisfied with the special assessments made on a drain is found in North Dakota Century Code 6116.1. The taxpayer may either appeal to the state engineer, and I can give you a copy of this Attorney General's
I've got it.
opinion. The remedy of the taxpayer, let's see, the taxpayer may either appeal to the state engineer under the North Dakota Century Code 6116.1-23 or the district court under NDCC 6116.154. So that appears as your only two remedies. So my position is that that tax dollars for that special assessment, they should be segregated from the rest of the tax dollars.
They should what?
They should be segregated for the time and put in kind of an escrow account until there can be a determination made on
Yeah, I
what's
was
going to happen with
instructed
them.
that was the way it was gonna be
Yeah.
handled a number of years ago
Yeah.
already.
So your Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anything can be done at the county level. It has to be done at the state
Yes,
level.
it can be done at the county level. May I state my case?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. And I'm gonna stand up here,
Go ahead,
so,
Rose.
and
You-
I
you
have
can
to
sit-
apologize.
you can
I
sit if you
cannot
want.
hear
You can
anymore,
sit,
so.
that's fine.
All right, I only had 5 copies, so I'm sorry, so somebody's gonna have to share. This was a letter I presented to the water board 3 years ago. No, there we go, I got a copy. Because I am not here to protest the assessment.
I don't,
I am here to protest being included in either one of these drainage projects.
Okay.
And I have the maps to show you that I should not have been included. There has never been an opportunity in any of the hearings I've been going to for over 30 years. This started in 1992.
okay,
If
one
I
second,
sound
Rose.
like I'm
One
wound
second,
up.
1 second, Rose, before we get going, just so you understand. This is not a venue to address those issues, but we will give you the public forum to air the issues, but we have zero authority over what you're talking about here.
Well, somebody
but
has
just-
got to make the decision as to whether my land is in or out of the ditch. And
I
I think that you're as suitable and appropriate a judge of this as anybody else, and I'm sick and tired of going to meetings.
I understand, but we don't have, as a board, the ability to do that, but you are here, we will let you air your grievances, and it will put it more out in the public forum, and hopefully that will move you towards a solution.
Well,
I'm
I'm running out of time.
Personally, I'm sympathetic to your position, but we don't have any way to resolve
Okay,
this.
this is a copy of the engineer's design for the Karnak drain. We need to go back to this. This was the beginning. And I'll have to ask you to share it because I'm out of copies.
No problem.
When did this all start, Rose? What
It
year?
started about 1992 with that major rainfall.
Yeah, that's right.
And everybody in our area, if you look at the map, let
I
me
was
see.
there.
I have a map. Okay, here's the Broadview land map.
Yeah.
Okay, I have marked the route of the drainage ditch in yellow and outlined my land in pink, except I missed yours, didn't I?
Yeah,
Sorry
I see.
about that.
I see where it's at.
Okay, I am right there
Yep.
in section 8. And the ditch, if you read the description of the ditch, there is no mention whatsoever of any part of section 8 being included in the Karnak drain. And yet I've been taxed for 30 years. Now I'm gonna send 2 pictures around. I want you to look at them carefully. They're either end of a drain in the Karnak drain. Tell me who is giving the water and who is taking the water.
Yep. And how many years have you been? How many years you've been doing this? You've been paying this every year.
Yeah.
correct?
Now, my
Oh,
husband was sick, about the last 10 years of this, and
Correct.
he was all done fighting. He couldn't fight anymore. So I'm sure there was no record of a protest for a few of those years. But when I took over the bookkeeping after his death, I've been protesting or intending to protest every single year. Because this is simply not fair. I am taking the water. I have no outlet for that water. I'm paying for the privilege of everyone else in the Karnak drain to dump their water through that culvert onto me. In case you haven't guessed yet, the water flooding the territory is my land, running under the county road.
Yeah.
So not only have I been taxed, but I've been flooded and I have lost cropland. I've taken a double whammy. That's only the Karnak drain. That doesn't even mention the new TB4 drain. So I'm going to read this, what I read to the water board 3 years ago. And it starts with, I am here today not to protest the assessment against me and my property for participation in the so-called TB04 drainage project. I'm here to argue against the inclusion of any of my land in this project altogether. On this map here, which is attached to something that I gave you, is the new engineering design for the TB04. And I stood my ground on this because they originally planned to put it on my land across the north end of Section 8. And I resisted and fought them every step of the way, so they moved it to the north side of the road. And I thought, wow, I escaped. And then I got my tax bill. And I'm included, and I'm taxed a huge tax, something like $2,500.
Yeah, I see that.
Water does not run from south to north in our area. It might on the Red River of the North, but not here. So I can show you, way on this extreme right end, they closed off a culvert that was bringing water onto me from the north, way over here. And they put a new culvert in to the east under the driveway of what is Combs.
Chris Combs.
What's this? Chris Combs' property. It used to be Stanley Stuckus. I went down there on my way here today. I couldn't even find the ends of the culvert because it's grown up. There's a little seepage there that is not draining any water out of me. It's not going anywhere when it gets to the other side of the driveway. It just pools there. So I'm being charged. I included here's my tax bill. And if that wouldn't make you gulp twice.
Yeah, we got some good.
You see, it is separated out, the special assessment. Where am I looking here? Oh, this is just, I gave it, yeah, right. It was divided, in 2020, it separated it out with a tax on the special assessment of $986 on the Karnak grade and $1,478 on the TBO4. I'm not in either one of these drains. I'm not asking for a readjustment of the assessment of my property. I'm asking simply for a determination that my property is not in either one of these ditches. And I should just be exempted, and I should have an abatement, if you want to call it that. Just eliminate me from the tax base for those two ditches. Whether I come back to claim damages, which I have taken for 32 years, is another matter. I'm sure you make decisions on who owns land, where, and when, and how, and where the approaches should be. That's in your power.
No, it really isn't. So the ownership of land, of course, is handled through the county, but it's handled through the Register of Deeds. And so the county commission has basically the power to pay bills, to set some policy, but we can't alter state law that's already in place.
Well, you see, if you read the law carefully, there's no provision anywhere in that law for the opponents of this thing. We got 45 days to try to mount an opposition to the special election. The special election was rigged, the very first one, because the people who stood to benefit from that were the assessors. They went around and looked at the land and decided they could get 51% of the vote by taxing themselves, and that's what they did. It was a clear conflict of interest.
Oh, there's, all these points are probably well raised, but they're being raised in a venue that has no recourse.
That's what everybody always says. Who is the final arbiter on this?
So
I would say, one minute, Jamie. The final arbiter is a jury of your peers, and that's unfortunately that's where this is going to have to go, to a civil court.
You know,
that
makes such a mockery of justice. Those of us who have been victimized by somebody's interpretation of the law end up having to pay our way out of it in time and money and expense.
I agree with you.
I think it's up to you to pass a motion to say, exempt this woman, she's not in this thing, and we're done with it.
It would not have any bearing whatsoever. because no one would recognize, the powers that be would not recognize that motion, even if it passed, which it probably would. It would not be recognized because it directly contradicts state law. So just as I can't tell the treasurer,
You can never-
treasurer or the auditor, because they are elected officials, I can't tell them what to do, this commission can't tell them what to do. It's beyond our authority. Our authority is very, very shallow here. We pay bills, really, and we set policy. We don't decide issues that have already been decided by the Century Code and the long-standing rules and laws have been put in place. I don't disagree with you that they are archaic and one-sided and probably should be changed, but so is our democracy. Anytime you have a system in place where 51% of the people get to decide for the other 49%, you're going to have people that are unhappy. And such is the system that we live under. Again, I sympathize with your position. Jamie can probably advise you onto what action can be taken, but there is no recourse in this commission. Even if we did say, yep, you're right, it wouldn't mean it. It wouldn't mean what the paper that it would be written on eventually.
May I ask, do you have the power to abate people's taxes?
Once the abatement has been analyzed by the township and signed off by the township, signed off by the assessors, it would have to be signed off by the water board in this case.
Yeah, I was not gonna argue this on the basis of the assessment, because I just reject all of the assessment because I am not properly being charged at all.
I understand. Again, you're speaking to the choir here, but we have zero way to remedy this.
Where in the Century Code does it describe the duties of the county commission? What section of the law is it?
11 dash.
There is, yeah, I mean,
It's a good study.
Yeah, I can tell you where it is. I mean, I look at it all the time, of course.
it's under 1111 is this chapter.
What is it, 1111?
1111. The general duties, I can give you them, it's 111111. The general duties of the Board of County Commissioners shall superintend the fiscal affairs of the county, shall supervise the conduct of the respective county officers, may cause to be audited and verify the accounts of all officers having the custody, management, collection, or disbursement of any monies belonging to the county or received in their official capacity.
Wait a minute, read that again.
May cause to be audited and verified the accounts of all officers having the custody, management, collection, or disbursement of any monies belonging to the county or received in their official capacity. And before November 15th of each year shall have the county auditor prepare general purpose financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Public notice that financial statements have been prepared are available for inspection and must be published in an official newspaper.
And that's all you can do?
Sometimes that's too much, Rose.
But yeah, we're just basically, we manage the finances of the county, and let's be honest, that's what we do.
So, Rose, I guess I attended a pile of those meetings with you guys back in 2014, 15, 16. I can sympathize because I don't agree with the legal drain. But that doesn't mean I get to say, because I don't agree with it, we can't follow the law. So I sympathize, and I was at all the meetings that you guys were at, and I understand your reasoning. The commission, the hands are pretty much tied. So that thing that I read to you is an Attorney General's opinion from, actually it's long ago, from
Yeah,
1995. Yeah.
Right.
So you've seen that opinion. So that's what we have to follow. I can't advise the commission to go make an action contrary to what the law is allowing us to do.
Well, I appreciate all that, but now you said on occasion you have abated taxes.
Yes, we abate
But
taxes.
it has to come through the township officers, right?
Or in this case, the water board, since it's a special for the water board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the governing body agrees to the abatement, the government body being the township or the city or the water board in this case, and then they would forward it on to us for final approval. And we're just a rubber stamp, basically.
Say it again.
We're just a rubber stamp, basically. If it gets to the point that the abatement is approved by everybody downstream, we've never denied an abatement. We have always said, yeah, well, we're just here to move the process forward, and so we sign it and away it goes. If there was a mistake made in this case,
Well, it
Rose,
was a mistake. They included me in a ditch I'm not in. That's a mistake.
I agree. I agree. If there was a mistake made,
How does the first water ditch that was supposed to be completed never get completed? And it
again,
was
that's
paid
a-
out.
That's a long story.
I mean, it's like, okay, you're flooding all these people's land and you're charging them to flood their land. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
well,
Thanks
isn't
a
that,
lot.
don't you have some oversight? It's in the county and it was never done. You audit, you propose an audit, why were people paid and not held accountable? Don't you have the power of that, Rob? It's
no.
like-
So see, the purpose of the water board was to be independent of the county commission because
But
they
who holds them accountable? if
But
they're-
we do appoint
The,
the water board.
the county commission,
Right.
you're right, the county commission does hold the water board accountable.
accountable.
You're 100% right in that. and
That's correct.
There was a change in the guard in the water board.
It sure was.
So, I mean, that was part of holding the water board accountable. Prior to this commission, I mean, and that was before my time too. I don't know what happened with how the commission handled the water board in the 90s. I was still in high school at that point, so I don't know.
Right. Nobody knows,
But-
because no records were kept by the Karnak Grade. It was a little closed corporation. It's
Okay.
been a disaster from day one, and I'm on the end of this paying and paying and paying.
So let me get back to
Yeah.
the original
Yeah.
the original statement I made when we started this. That this is all set forth in state law, how these water boards are supposed to act, how they're supposed to assess property, how they're supposed to levy taxes. The county commission would hold the water board accountable if they have neglected to follow the law as prescribed. The only way to decide whether or not they didn't follow the law is,
Spend more
again,
time and money and go to court, right?
I know it's a catch-22, but that's the way it is.
If you read that very carefully, the 61, chapter 61, there's no provision in there for the opponents of this thing except for that 45-day waiting period or a time allowed to get your act together and resist them. They talk about hearings at which no one ever listens.
I know. Again, our democracy is messy. It allows 51% of the population to control the other 49%.
And it's not a democracy, we are a republic.
Because the room's not big enough for all the people we represent. I know that. But we sometimes
Well, now I want to ask you a question.
sometimes the democracy protects actions that are adverse to the people that form the democracy, and that is a sad reality of how the governance system we live under.
See, that's the difference between a republic and a democracy. A republic is founded on a constitution, and laws have to be in agreement with the constitution. Democracy is mob rule. Whoever's got the most votes wins. And
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Like I said,
rest of us have to
I
live
think
with
with this group here, you're speaking to the choir. I think everybody sympathizes
all right, I want
with
to
your
ask
position.
a question.
Okay.
If you passed a resolution here recommending that the water board exempt me from future assessments, would you consider doing that?
Or remove you from those.
Remove me from the ditches. I have all the evidence that I was never supposed to be in either one of them.
See, I can answer that, and the answer is, we don't have the legal ability to pass the resolution.
Well, you could do it as a non-legal resolution, as a statement of opinion, and see if they would act on it.
I don't think there's a way to do that. A resolution is
Is
something
only-
passed on by the commission that is binding, And in order to be binding, we have to have the legal authority to do that.
Well, that's not my understanding of a resolution. I think a resolution is a statement of intent or belief, and that has to be followed up with actions, ordinances, or whatever. They're going through that in the southern part of the state right now about this pipeline that wants to come across. The county commissioners are saying we don't want it here. They're passing resolutions. And
I mean, again,
Excuse me.
I understand the avenues, I understand what you're trying to do, I don't think that you're wrong in your not wanting to be included, and it doesn't require any hard facts on why you don't want to be included. The fact you don't want to be included should be enough, but that's not the system we live under. And,
well, let me ask you this.
I mean, okay.
Because I told the water board that the only way they were gonna get my land was to go through eminent domain. What power do you have over this eminent domain procedure?
I don't know that.
As far as for the water board?
Yeah, for anything. Does the county have any authority to use eminent domain for anything?
Without research, yes.
Yeah, okay,
The county does.
right. So then you could retroactively take my land by eminent domain, in which case I would get paid instead of you getting paid.
Well, now we're getting into common law, and I'm not up on common law too much. But
Well, I think
we're not
that's-
governed by that
I think
here.
that's a completely different issue too, I think, Rosie. I don't think that's one that we want, or need, I shouldn't say want to, or you actually need to go down. I mean, I think those are two different issues.
So back to the original, how big of a, when you guys said there was a mistake made in it, in the figuring out, is there a dollar figure in that?
That's for the water board.
Okay, that's my,
I didn't get what you said.
Oh, they said there was a mistake made figuring this out, or, and they said it goes back to the water board what the mistake was,
Well, it was the as I
for the
remember.
dollar amount and stuff, so you never.
Yeah,
had,
they
so-
arbitrarily said 65. I was going to get 65% benefit, and then when we challenged that, they said, "Oh no, it wasn't really 65%. It's more like I don't know, whatever, 20%." Quite a big difference, but I mean, it was all very arbitrary. They finally did get somebody in there with LiDAR who was able to do a little more realistic appraisal of benefited acres and so on. But anyway.
So, yeah, so should would it do any good to have her, or just be brought up to the next water board meeting, or not?
Well, we don't,
I know,
by law, we
can't do anything
don't
anyway.
have any authority to do
Correct.
anything.
but if there's a mistake made, it needs to be brought up.
I mean, I think it's up to the water board and the state engineer to fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done the most at this point that we can do. If there's a proven fact that the water board didn't do things according to the Century Code, then there will have to be some action taken. I still don't know if it's the county commission that takes that. I think they point them in the right direction to make sure that's corrected.
I think
what we've done is given Rose the ability to air her grievances in a public
Correct.
forum.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, and I'd forgotten all about this, so I had to really get stoked up to get up here today and rekindle
We
this.
noticed.
Anyway, well,
I think you were adequately motivated.
Yeah, I think you were.
And we appreciate it.
We do.
And
Yeah, we do.
I apologize, we can't do anything about it at this point, but
well, it's very interesting that nobody with power can do anything, ever, quote unquote. It's always go to court.
I know.
Yeah, well, it's very disappointing. And you can consider the idea of passing a resolution that is not binding, recommending to the water board that I be dropped from their projects.
So and not that I want to do this, but I think that based on the Attorney General's opinion, it states that it would be inappropriate for the Board of County Commissioners to order adjustments, abatements, or refunds of special assessments imposed by a water resource district. So I think that even a resolution is something that is kind of muddy water for the commissioners to say, hey, you guys got to do this. I don't think I would recommend doing that and being involved in it, because there is a reason that the state law states that only or the 5 people that can't be on a water board in the county are the county commissioners.
Yeah.
So,
Her best option would probably either just go to the water board meeting or to bring the water board to court, or what could she do there?
yeah, I mean, the 2 solutions or your 2 remedies are to go to the state engineer or to take it up in district.
You've already been to the state engineer, right?
Sorry we couldn't give you any better news, Rose. Like I said, I was at all those meetings. I understand what you guys are dealing with.
And, well, first of all, how many are on the water board now?
3.
Just the 3. See, everybody that was in this at the beginning has gone. You know, that whole water board is gone. These new people that are on the water board, they don't have, unless they've sat and read all of this kind of stuff, which I doubt, they don't know what happened 20 years before they got there. So they're stuck with it, just like I'm stuck with it. And it seems like there's got to be some way to get unstuck on this.
Back then it was 5 on the water board.
But
Is it 5 on the water
It
board
was,
now?
back then it was.
back then,
Well, it was
Back then it was
more than
5.
that. There were 7 or 8 of them.
There was 7 of them.
Yeah.
They had alternates, and
Okay.
they was.
That's fine.
they,
Well, the table was always surrounded with, I could go back and find out who
No,
they
there
were.
was. No, you're
And
right.
interestingly, one of the people on the water board had been offered the option of whether he wanted to be included in the ditch or not, and he opted out. But then he votes for all this stuff for the rest of us that are stuck in it. Because he was on the fringe and we were in the middle.
I mean, yeah, and I don't know, that was before my time.
Yeah, before
here.
your
I was-
time. So
yeah.
how do you remedy something like this?
Again, I think a jury of your peers, I think is how it's remedied. And I don't think that those peers would be unsympathetic to your argument. I don't know that,
Well, I've
but
been to this water board too, you know, the present one. So, but I don't live in Cooperstown anymore. I live a long way away, and it's not convenient to come here. And plus, which I like to have a life besides fighting the water board.
I know. I understand.
All right. Well, thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks for all.
Nice seeing you again.
I'll leave you with all that stuff so you can read that at your leisure.
Yep.
We'll keep it.
Well, I asked you when you walked in here if you did any writing anymore, and you answered my question.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh. Well, Madison, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
No, no. So is the I know I can't ask or whatever, but is the suggestion then to keep her special assessments in a separate fund? Because I know there's the 60
Yes,
days, but
You're
even though it's a
segregated.
special assessment and
Yeah, it needs to be segregated.
it needs to be
the
segregated.
de-
Okay.
the decision needs to
So
be
I just need
that,
to hold that for the 60 days?
that the
and then if
decision
she
is
doesn't-
between you and the state.
Yeah, whatever it needs to be segregated for the statutory time.
And when does that time start? Because does it start when the postmark date on her payment? Does it
Whenever
start-
whenever you accepted her payment. So the 60-day would start if you.
So her, on the postmark date is April 10th on the envelope that she
Check.
sent her payment in. So we start that 60 days from there.
Okay.
Okay, that was interesting. State Historical Society.
Make sure they're on. Lorna and Lisa are here.
Okay, who? Mona,
Lorna.
Lorna, and Lisa.
Yep.
Mhm. Are they on?
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon. Who am I speaking with? We don't have anything up on the screen, I see.
Lorna and Lisa, can you guys hear us?
There it is. I found the button. Sorry about that. I've got 2 mute buttons. This is Lisa.
Lisa, hello,
Yes, we
Lisa.
can hear you. I don't have a camera.
Okay, Lisa, John Wakefield with the County Commission. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole scenario with the courthouse in Cooperstown, but it started back in 2011. And a new courthouse was built, and it was built using a $1 million grant, federal grant. And to really sum it up in a short scenario here, the federal grant was subject to provisions contained within the Federal Historical Site, I think was what the courthouse was on. Is that Federal Registry of
The
Historic?
National Register.
Yeah, okay. So the building authority and the county commission at that time were under the impression that they could then tear down the old courthouse after the new one was built. After the fact, when that county commission went away abruptly, and the new county commission was faced with picking up the pieces, it came to light that the courthouse could not be torn down without first getting permission from the federal agencies that were overseeing the historical aspect of the courthouse, and then all subordinate entities, which would be not only the state but the county historical society. So as it progressed along, the county commission put a ballot issue up, and it was just advisory. It didn't hold any water on what the citizens wanted done with the courthouse. Did they want it torn down, or did they want it preserved? That ballot issue came back that 58% or so wanted it torn down, but it wasn't binding. And of course, in order to tear it down, we had to have a dollar figure. So at that point, this was years ago, we started with the process of how do we get permission to tear it down? Because first of all, we need permission in order to put a dollar figure together to even put it to the voters to see whether or not they still want to pay this money. And that's the point we're at right now. We're in this cycle of what do we do to tear it down? And the State Historical Society has been put in charge of making that call. The federal entity opted to give the State Historical Society the authority, and the county did also. So what we're looking for, and we're not necessarily saying we're going to tear it down. We want to know what options there are. One of the options would be trying to give it to the County Historical Society and have it preserved, but we need to abide by what the people have told us previously, so we need to arrive at a dollar figure. And in order to do that, we have to assume the position that what do we do to tear this building down? What steps need to be taken? And if these steps are taken at the end of the process, that grants us permission to raise the building. What the cycle we've been in right now, and it's unattainable because we can't be spending taxpayer dollars without knowing the final outcome. So we ask the question, and the State Historical Society says, well, you do this and this and this. And we do that, and we spend thousands of dollars doing a project, and we get the results, and then there's something else that's put in front of us and no decisions made. So we need a checklist, a contract, if you will, that if we follow these steps, we can tear down the courthouse. We need permission prior to going through this process. So, because either it can be torn down or it can't be. If it can't be, we don't need to go forward. If it can be, there must be a set of rules that show how to tell us the steps to tear it down. What we're asking for is those set of rules, and thusly, once we complete those steps, the permission has already been granted. We want a contract that says, yes, you can tear it down, but here's what you need to do to tear it down. Then we can put a price value onto those procedures along with what it would cost to tear it down, and we can present it to the voters to see where we stand. But we can't keep going through this, okay, you jump through this hoop and we jump through the hoop and you say there's another hoop and another hoop and another hoop, but each one of these hoops costs money. We need to get a process in place that has the end result that we're looking for.
Okay. Firstly, the original county commission did know that they couldn't tear it down because I was actually the reviewer on that project. We told them at the time that they were building the new one, that building the new one would be fine, but tearing down the old one would be an adverse effect to the property and would need to be mitigated. So they knew that from the beginning. And they, both the sheriff and I would have to see who the person from the commission was, sent us letters stating they had no intention to tear it down.
I was giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, sorry, no. And then in response to your second question, what were the steps? We sent a letter to Mr. Tennyson on September the 17th of 2019 with 5 mitigation requirements to mitigate this adverse effect to the property. And the second to last sentence of that letter says, once these 5 things have been completed and approved by our office, we will issue a letter advising the project be allowed to commence. Of those 5 steps, the first one has been completed. The remaining 4 are what we're waiting for.
And you guys have received that letter. That's the letter that we discussed. But that, so we're at the point that we have to do those 4 things. But at, I guess what the commission is required, required under law, being the fiscal managers of the county, is if the county completes those, are we guaranteed, or is there, would there be some sort of contract or guarantee that the county would have that at that point, once those additional 4 steps are completed, that the courthouse can then be demolished?
Right, that's what that sentence means, and perhaps we could clarify it if you like in a new document, but yes, once these mitigations have been completed and approved by our office, we would issue a letter allowing you to proceed with the process, which is tearing it down.
Okay.
If you would like to draft an MOA or an MOU to that effect, we would be happy to sign that.
That's what we're looking for, but the other step in this is the 4 remaining items are very vague in their content. We need in order to have more detail to those additional items so that we can put a price tag to those. And because we don't want to finish one of those items and say no, and have you say no, well, that you didn't do it correctly, we need more. We need finality to each one of those.
Right, and I know that Lorna has been in contact with someone, and I'll let her speak to who that was. We have guidelines about filling out site forms and about what a National Register nomination looks like. And I know she spoke to someone, and I don't recall who it was, and I'll let her answer that, but with either the commission or with the city, and explain that to them, but we would happily provide you with those written guidelines again, if necessary. And she's the architectural historian, so I'll also let her speak to the salvage of materials. Because again, that is if practicable. If there's nothing to save or the things that are, are not savable, that's a discussion we can. And then as far as a plaque or a sign, that would be like any sign that you would have at your parks or any other, building that basically gives a brief history of the building and the importance of the structure, why it was important before it was gone. But yeah, I'm gonna let Lorna speak to those other 2 items. She's having the same problem I was having. We have 2 mute buttons. There's the one on our headsets, and then there's one on the screen if you hover over your name. She's gonna come over and use my headset since it's working. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. It's always Zoom, yeah. Alright, sorry about that. It's always Zoom that some setting on my computer and headset does not like. So, can you hear me? Sorry, before I get too far into this.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah.
So we have very clear guidelines published on our website about the site form. I know I've talked to Stephanie, who I believe is probably the same Stephanie who's listening in on iPhone, and about this the most recently. I know when you did item number 1 on the HABs, I worked directly with Angela from NDSU on those processes. Those also had established written guidelines. I've talked to a couple consultants who I believe Stephanie approached to get bids on your behalf. And they asked me very specifically to make sure they were understanding through the chain what it was. They know how to do site forms, they know how to do National Register nominations. So the 2 items that they could also get you bids on would be the listing of salvage, but that one we could also just arrange a trip for us to come through, walk through the building, and identify the pieces that look practical, and then whoever is actually contracted to do the demolition, that would be a line item in their bid for salvaging those particular items. So that needs the coordination before you would get your bid. The plaque or interpretive signage that would be there, you can have a local historian do the research and work. A lot of the research is going to be coming out of what is already written on these other things, so that should be very simple. What we would need to do for that one is what design for the plaque, approve the verbiage, and there's the flexibility on that for your cost portion in what medium you want to use for the signage. You could go with a full-on bronze plaque, that you're talking probably $3,000 for the production, not the research or wording. Like once you actually would write it out and say this is exactly what I want, the plaque itself would probably be $3,000, and then you'd have your installation costs. There are other mediums that you can use, and we did not dictate the medium. So we would be willing to look at proposals. If you already have a way that you do some of that signage, we would be willing to look at something that's already used in your area.
What are the other 2? What are the other 2 of the 4? We've got 3 of them now with the the work that NDSU did originally.
The plaque.
The plaque and the sign, yeah, and the historical artifacts. What are the other 2?
So item 1 was the report that NDSU prepared. That's the one that's completed.
Yep.
Item 2 is updating the North Dakota Cultural Resource Survey form, which is referenced in the letter as site form. Number 3 is updating the National Register of Historic Places nomination. Number 4 is the salvage materials, and number 5 is the signage.
So 2 and 3, who and how are they accomplished? Is that something that the State Historical Society it takes on?
We are the approval authority of those 2, of the number 2. Number 3, we have an intermediary authority. The actual register nomination must also go before the North Dakota Historic Preservation Review Board and the keeper of the National Register, as it's there. That is a federal program.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't the National Register already tentatively signed off on this, and that's why they put the Historical Society in charge of the Or am I wrong on that? It seems to me, a number of years ago, I saw an email to that effect, but I can't seem to put my hands on that.
No, the National Register program is separate from the whole Section 106 agreement. So it's involved with the law of the National Historic Preservation Act, but the actual list itself that maintains all the applications and nomination forms is the documentation program. So the listing itself was involved with the law and why FEMA had that and people reference it, but the documentation is separate. And FEMA is the one who was the federal agency before who said it's now on the State Historical Society.
Correct. So can you give us detailed guidance on how to proceed forward?
Yep, so the fastest way to do it, most of your documentation was compiled as part of that HABS record. The site form, you can try to do it yourselves. It'll take you longer because you've never done it before, right? Or you could hire a consultant off the list that Stephanie checked on, or I can send you the whole list again if you want to talk with them. They provide their own bids on what they require for those, but they know how to do them. They will have to come up, take some current photos, and then they'll use that information that any of you already provided to write up in the proper format on the proper forms and submit through the proper channels. So you could hire a consultant who has experience, or you can try to learn the process, somebody locally, and go through.
Yeah, we're still faced with the dilemma of trying to arrive at a cost before we jump forward. That's the point of this, is taxpayers aren't going to be appreciate us spending money and then get to the point where it's either cost too much money to do this or another avenue presents itself. We need to have this all up front. What is this going to cost from this point forward if we were going to raise this building, and have the approvals tentatively in place to do that? And we have
So I can't provide you cost estimates that would be any sort of actual quote or binding. I can talk to our museum division and see what the physical production cost was on some signage that we've done recently, because we do that. That would give you a ballpark there. The consultant would be the one to quote you what they want. If you have somebody locally who's going to go through the process and volunteer their time, I mean, that's cost. I can't say what that is.
We're not asking for a dollar figure. What we're asking for is a detailed listing of what exactly we need to do and what you want in each one of these documents. What does it entail? What do you want information in these documents that we're going to provide? Because without that,
I can send you
Okay.
all these are formalized programs for numbers 2 and 3. I can absolutely send you all the guidelines and rules on those of what needs to be in there.
so my question is, and it's more a statement, is why did it take to this point in order to get to where you can send us what we needed, what we need, a definition of this thing, when we've been asking for this one way or the other for the last 10 years? Seems like someone's been dragging your feet, but I'm not sure.
I have a lot of documentation in my files that say we have provided this numerous times to whoever was the person asking.
I received the forms. Well, I received everything. Please take that back. This is with Jamie. He forwarded me the email, the original email, which included the forms for the site and included the forms for the National Registry update. And looking over those, they're beyond my skill set, along with the 60-some page instructions and how to fill them out. So I do have a list of historical architects that you can contact, inquiring upon it. And
Okay,
I have contacted.
Let's accumulate all this information then and start the process from the beginning again. How's that sound? Any questions, guys?
No, just like you said, just start over again. Everything you can get, and get what the start is again. Okay.
Okay, who would you like that directed to?
Send it to the, either the state's attorney, probably to the state's attorney.
Yeah, I can take it. I have no problem with that.
He'll just pass it on to the
Okay,
commission.
yep. Okay, yep, I have Jamie's email.
As detailed as possible, please.
Okay, and did you want all the back documents? It would be for all the discussions throughout everything, or you just want to go from the 2019 letter where we said this is the items and then all the stuff to move forward?
I think just the letter and the stuff to move forward. No, I think that's all we're looking for.
We've achieved one thing. We've got verbal, at least, that if we follow the steps that are needed, that we will be able to follow through on the project. That's really what has been the holdup on this. It seemed like we were just getting led down a path and one item after another with no resolution. At least we do have some resolution here, and now we just need to know what's involved in those further steps in order to achieve the end result. So that would be greatly appreciated, as much detail as possible from that letter forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
My plan will be to work on a new amended MOU or MOA. Probably not for the next meeting, but probably for one of the June meetings.
Okay. Anything else from anybody for Lorna or Lisa?
No.
Okay, that'll probably be the end of that. Thank you, Lorna, Lisa. Jamie will be getting back with you, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with you after we take some of this information in.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll leave it up to you to think if we made any progress on that. Deputy State's Attorney EMS training. Jamie, or?
Yeah, just quickly, I can go through it. There's some training for incident command that I would like to send Annie to. What days is it, Annie?
It is May 23rd, starting at 8 a.m. and May 24th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So it's SES is an incident command. It's training that we should have as an emergency manager or office, at least as. So I guess I just asked that. I think most of the costs are paid by the state. Hotel meals, I believe, are paid by the state. So I think travel would likely be the only cost that the county would bear. I actually think there's money in the budget, specifically in the EMS or emergency management budget for travel. But I guess we want to run by you and let you know what was going on.
It does show here that, as a reminder, there is no cost for any of the courses, and VES will reimburse lodging and per diem. Vehicle mileage is not reimbursed at state rates for participants who are first responders or work in emergency management, are employees of the state, local, or tribal government jurisdictions, live or work in North Dakota, and live more than 50 miles from the training location. And training location is in Bismarck. And there is $1,000 in the DES budget for travel.
You need a motion? for
Not,
this?
not really. I
No,
mean,
it's in
you-
the
No, it's in the budget. We just,
Okay.
just- I think it was just informational, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
As of today, also there was a phone call, with DES, the Nelson Griggs Public Health was on there. Hannah Zahn, who is the CMC emergency, or CMC DON, who's also head of the project for the nursing home moving. We will be doing a mock drill with hopefully EMS and fire department, dependent on schedules with everybody, as well as state coming down, but it is tentatively set up for May 18th.
Okay.
And that's when the nursing home will be moving to the new building. That is all dependent on if Medicare was supposed to show up to the new facility today to see that it's actually a building. They are actually going to be doing business out of there. And as long as they show up in the next couple days, it's on our schedule for May 18th. I think for the 4th time, but yeah.
Yeah, well.
You know why you're not there now? Gonna be hopefully, with the moving and use that as a citywide preparedness thing.
I'm sorry, Steph, did you ask why we're using that as a emergency preparedness drill?
No, I was inquiring that we're going to call that emergency preparedness drill. That's a fabulous idea.
Oh, okay, we're doing a mock flood drill.
Oh.
Okay, that's great.
And so it's showing more or less that, we need to move the residents out because there is a flood coming is what the idea is behind it. Whether it was the river flooding and overtaking the city or whatever it may have been. There isn't really specifications besides that, at least as of not as yet, but that is what we're looking at.
I guess it's a way to do a mass evacuation of people who are unable to move themselves, whether it's a flood or something else. It's a way to get people evacuated.
And we'll be using the parking lot of Trinity. They did agree to it roughly 2 months ago. I have not heard back from Allison, who is the secretary at Trinity Lutheran, to verify that she is okay with May 18th. So once I hear back, I've also did let Paul know, Nancy know, and well as Chris at the city. I just sent out emails about 30 minutes ago, just giving them a heads up, and as soon as I get the okay, that everything has been signed off on, I would follow up with an email.
Okay. Sounds like that's moving forward. We'll, let's jump forward to the county website, and Travis, get out of here, page 24. Looks like some IT bureaucracy that says we're not in compliance with something. The last paragraph of your email is what we need to answer. I don't know what action the state can or would take if we do not upgrade the server, or if there's a deadline to get it done. That's what we need to know.
Currently, I don't know of any deadline to get it done.
Okay.
But it is a security issue, and it's a recommendation I also make to the commission that it is completed. Something needs to be done with it. I did, when we were going through budget, I did get revised to do they're a company that does government websites. They do where they're actually hosting it. They quoted us about $10,500 for doing the site, and approximately $2,300 per year to host it for us. We're hosting it currently here at our equipment. The annual cost for us to host it here is just basically paying for what's called an SSL certificate or encryption certificate. That's $400 for a 3-year certificate, so roughly $133 per year for that. I'm estimating somewhere between $9,000 and $12,000 for us DNA Mobility to do a redesign, meaning we'll take it, put it up on a new operating system, get the new version of the actual framework that's running on, and then migrate everything over from the old server to the new one then. So we still have the same functionality, updated look. The new system will also allow for department heads to be able to edit their own pages, so they can be adding their own content from that. Currently, the website's used for the county commission and I believe the water board meeting notices, legal notices. If that did go down or was no longer working, we would have to find another way to do that, I guess. Or the auditor would have to do it manually, I guess, for it. But
So the way I see it, this is an issue for budget time.
Yeah, next,
Yeah.
I guess before the budget, we've spoken about if there's some other breaks, funds could be transferred from general. I'm not sure if that's able for this, or if we do have to wait till budget season, but.
Well, I think we should wait. I mean, we don't know the timeline. We don't even know what the urgency of the entity that says we're not in compliance. I mean,
The state says it's not in compliance, but I'm also stating it's not in compliance.
Yeah.
As my expert opinion on this opens us up to hacking, and it's not something to take lightly. We are connected to the state's backbone. We are a point of interest for somebody to try to gain access to the state's network. There is multiple bad actors that are continuously trying to look for that. This current website cannot be updated because it's end of life. The manufacturer that makes the operating systems no longer supports it. There's nothing that can be pushed to it. We're also been experiencing issues with it over the last year or 2 years, where there's just things just don't work quite right. So I can't guarantee anything as far as functionality in the long term or the cost if we do get compromised or it does get hacked. The cost to the county to get that remedied could potentially be significant. Depends on how widespread that becomes. So I don't recommend sitting on this and waiting. I did address this on last budget season. I was dismissed relatively quickly, in my opinion. I don't did appreciate that, I guess. I'm here to give expertise advice, and it's been tossed aside, I guess.
well,
But it is.
well, let me respond to that now. First of all, this letter wasn't addressed at budget time. We didn't know that this obscure entity has declared that we're not in compliance. And so we have no idea. And secondly, who has been maintaining and building this site the whole time? So you're the one that built a site that is not in compliance, not us.
Mr. Wakefield, as I stated, the software is
Not us. You did it. You've been here since the start of this, and if the site is not working, you can't blame anybody but you.
Mr. Wakefield, I say to you that this is end of life. End of life means the manufacturer no longer supports it. I can't do anything with that because there's no updates to apply to it.
Again,
I requested money to be able to migrate to a new server that we can then do updates for. Those have been denied.
you are not a budget. You are a contractor.
I know. And
You are supposed to be competing with other contractors. You don't come in here and say we need this and this and this and this. We decide what we need, then we put bids out on who's going to supply that. You got to get that straight, Travis. You are a contractor.
I've been asked to do these budgets.
You are a
Where
contractor.
in the past, I have not done them. The auditor has done them. I advise the auditor. I am now being asked to do the budget, and I have complied.
You're going to give us a
I've got
So-
two
on what it would
bids
cost
right now,
us, but
costs right
we're
now.
going to have to get to a point where we make this competitive again, because to have a contractor dictating policy is not in the public's best interest, and that can't go forward.
I don't appreciate saying dictate. I am making recommendations to this board, and I'm trying to convey the severity of doing this and continuing on with having a compromised system. We're not getting the get security up.
You've been the contractor for the last 10 years, and you're telling me that just as of recently you decided this was compromised?
No, it was end of life, Mr. Wakefield. As I stated, end of life has a date in which the manufacturer no longer supports it. I went to the board to say this is end of life now, we need to migrate away from it, and that was denied. Now the state security department has flagged me and saying, you guys should take a look at this.
But we need to know the details on what they want done. and what time frame we have. We don't have a pile of money here to just sort of say, okay, go ahead.
That's what I'm asking is there something we can do this year, or does it have to wait until next year? I am making a recommendation that we try to look for something this year if we can, but that's not my expertise. I don't know if legally we can move money from somewhere else because it's not in the IT budget currently.
I think what we need to do is we need to determine what needs to be done. We need to have a perspective put forward, and then we need to put this out on bids so we can see who is the cheapest contractor to do this. That's how this is supposed to be done. We're not supposed to be dictated on policy by a contractor, and that can't happen and won't happen.
And I'm not dictating you.
Very good. Then you'll submit a bid when we need something, and along with the other bids that we get, and we'll make a decision whether or not that fits
That's
our
what I have
budget.
here.
That's
I have
how it
my
works.
estimate, and I have it.
And that takes place at the budget time.
Okay, if there can't be done for this season,
But what happens if it totally goes down? Is that a possibility?
that is a possibility, yes.
It just crashes and.
And then what happens if it totally went down before April 25th? We would have fixed it. Same thing.
Yeah, my point is, it's a security risk, I see their point in that one, just trying to, what Travis is trying to say is that if something does go wrong, if there's money available, what you're saying is you can't really fix it, if it goes down, we can't really wait till next year or to after.
Did it just become a security risk April 25th?
No, I'm just saying, if you follow what I'm saying, anyway.
I know that, but it's always been, there's always been, with any site, there's always been the possibility that it could be hacked. Every site, everybody gets hacked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
There's
just,
always a possibility, yes.
there's always a
The way
possibility.
you mitigate that is ensuring you have the latest security patches applied. We do not.
And so,
Can we even use the site right now very much or not?
It's functional in the sense of what it's doing right now. It's limited in the sense that there was always talk about department heads being able to add more content to it.
That was brought up last year, remember that?
It never really has proceeded forward, I guess.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, I should take that back. The sheriff's department has started putting warrants, I believe, up on the website for that, but I don't think the other departments, we can't get them to log in. Since we can't make changes to it as far as on the security side of it, it's limiting us the ability to be able to let them come in and function and do what they want to do.
And then right now, can the general public get access to it or not?
Currently, yes. But there's always the risk of that, the site goes down.
So basically what you're suggesting, we're fine for now, but we should upgrade it because like you said, it's end of life and like anything else, it's a higher risk. And new, better programs should be put in. And it's like Justin said, okay, let's put it in bids for budget time then. So.
well, what are your wishes? I mean,
I know.
Well, and that's what I think we should do is we should just put in, like you're saying, get bids and put it in for when we do the budget on.
But I guess my point is there any way we can improve it, let's say we improve it for this budget coming up, but it doesn't go till next year, of course, There's only way we can get it fixed, if we prove it, basically back, this way, to prove it somehow, get money for it. You follow me for this year?
Step it up a year, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I guess that's what I'm requesting.
Yeah, that's
There
what
is any
I'm
money
saying.
budget,
I
so
guess-
go through the bid process. Like I said, I've already received one estimate from one company.
Yeah,
We most definitely can get more.
I question the urgency of it myself. Is all of a sudden this
What are you
threat,
basing that
this all of a sudden
expectations
this threat materialized? No, the threat's always been there, and we've always been subject to being hacked. And is it going to happen? Was it going to happen? Will it happen? Probably yes to all three of those at some point in the life of the system. No matter what software we have, eventually someone's going to figure out how to hack it. Are we a prime candidate to be hacked? Don't know. Probably more so after this issue issued by the state here saying that we are vulnerable. I don't know. But that's why it's up to the commission. What do you guys want to do?
I am for 2023, our world is all technology. Everything is on the internet, everything is there. And unfortunately, it costs money, and there's always upgrades of software. We always constantly have to upgrade it, and it costs money to do so. But if we don't go with the times, I mean, you just have to. You have to roll with it because the whole business is nothing. I believe we should update the software especially if we're going to use it more, and if some people can't use it, then, you know, then you want to have something they would use.
There's the high-tech side of it. There's a high-tech argument to it. I would rather roll it back to where we are not so dependent on the internet and all this technology, because as you see, it makes us vulnerable. And what is the overall benefit to the public by spending more money and making the site much more usable? Do they use it? I don't know. Maybe some people do, I don't, and a lot of other people don't. I think a basic service would be far better than an elaborate service. That's my opinion. That's how I run my businesses, and the simpler the better. When you become a slave to technology, you are just that, and then you're open to all this kind of thing. But again, what are your wishes?
Are we looking for a motion to Travis to some other companies to upgrade the website? Is that what we're looking for?
Well, I think at this junction point, I think we have to then put this back out into a process of bidding it, because we're completely going to upgrade the whole system. So we need to make sure that the public is receiving the most bang for the buck, should we say. More than likely, Travis is going to be that low bidder. But the only way to assure that is to put this back out.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. That is most definitely, because I don't want to, like we were saying before, I'm in a potentially, I don't want to be viewed upon that I'm doing some kind of favoritism, or some favoritism is being done to me from this board. We want to make sure that's clear cut business line. Completely agree with that. That's why like I said, I got one quote already. It was from the last budget season. We need to make sure that's updated with them if we did move forward with it this year or next year, if that does get approved for budget. And then I probably would see if we can try and get another one. So at least we have 3 competing bids for you guys to review.
Is there any chance you'd something done by the next commission meeting?
Potentially, yes. Like, as far as a bid or estimate for that,
bidders, you know.
I think so, yeah. I like at least see if I can get anyone else to submit a bid. So, like I said, I'm not sure if there is another company that would do that, but I'll definitely take a look at that then. So. And I think in my email I stated revised was $1,800 a year. That's their base annual cost for that. I forgot that they charge $500 per year if you want to be able to send out emails on the website, which we currently do. That's how the notifications are sent for commission meetings and so forth, and functionality for it. So that's where that $2,300 is the actual cost for that. So I'll have that written up in an actual proposal from them for that. So,
Jamie, do you have any way to contact the North Dakota Cyber Infrastructure Division and see what the site being flagged, what that entails, and what the recommendations are, and if it's urgent, or if we can wait till after the budget cycle?
Yeah, I could do that.
I can forward you that email from the gentleman that I received for that too. So
yeah, I'm sure Jamie can get a hold
and
of him.
I think we should maybe look at
that
Annie
independently
too and the EDS to see if there is any grants out there as well. I don't think we need to just assume that there isn't. So that might be an avenue that we should go down as well too. So.
But all this requires some time.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, but I wasn't
saying that.
I need to approve today to get this done by no means, but this is information.
You're just bringing it up to us right
yes,
now.
and I'm trying to convey that this is, in my opinion, urgent in the sense that there's something should be done. I guess I'm contradicting Mr. Wakefield in some senses that it's not someone intentionally going after Griggs County directly. These are bots that are constantly scanning for vulnerabilities. By exposing more vulnerabilities than we have to, we're opening up a bigger target. If we can shrink that as much as possible, that is the intent of security. Everything can be hacked. That is very true. So I guess the board's decision too, do you want to keep going with the website? That's another option. That is a third one. Do we just decommission it and no longer use it? That's up to you guys.
Is there any way of on our website, how many hits are on that thing?
We have a little bit, yeah. I can get some,
Numbers?
it's, you know, there's bots that'll hit stuff too. There's certain, you know,
Yeah,
it's
robots.
not, I wouldn't say it's a firm number, but we can get at least an idea, like, we can look at our YouTube page as far as how many people listen to the commissioner meetings per month. That's an idea, I guess, on that. It shows number of views on that per meeting. The pages themselves, I think they have a hit count, meaning every time someone views the page,
Views the page.
keeps counting up.
Okay.
So I guess,
Well, let's first see what Jamie comes up with on this, on what their recommendations are. I mean, if this cyber infrastructure division is going to flag it, they certainly must have some parameters on the urgency of it, when it needs to be fixed, and what the time frame is. Want to table this or till next meeting? You want to put it, or do you want to just put it on the next agenda?
I say we can table it, and then like you said, you probably have some bids, more bids and more information and everything else for us.
yeah, we can get some more information. I'll see if there, what kind of statistics I can get for like the number of people using the website, I guess.
Okay.
Just some general information, what's up.
And then my other question on that then, would that be, so let's say we just decide to take it down, which, I mean, would we be violating the context of making our meetings public, or is there still other ways that make our meetings public?
Oh, yeah, the auditor's office would just have to post it via email manually.
Okay.
It just would give more steps for Samantha's office to be able to do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
We don't have to have the county website to be able to notice meetings.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I don't want to violate any rules
No,
or
it just
anything like
has
that
to be
either.
noticed, and that's certainly what we're doing through the website, for making it easier for the public to see which meetings are present, to post the agenda, so it can be viewed by the public for that then. So that was the idea.
It was it's more of a convenience type of deal then.
Yeah, and I think it is nice for being able to go back and review what was, and then the links for each meeting too.
Okay.
Being able to go back historically and see what, you know, what meetings, what happened when, be able to listen to them, so.
Okay. So let's table this till
Yep.
next meeting.
Table it now.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to table it to next meeting.
Motion by Tranby to table the discussion on the website, the county website, till next meeting. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Second by Avriel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Tabled. Budget discussion time slots. I'm not really sure how we do that, but
Do you guys want 15 minutes between? What time do you want to start? How do you want me to present that to the department heads?
When's the first time we're gonna do it? What's the first date you said
Um,
roughly? I saw this calendar before.
June
8th
8th, I think.
is the first time.
Yep. Yep, June 8th through July 20th.
So we think like 15 minutes.
But I don't know, because, so the way that you guys have done it before is on June 8th, you get the budget, and that's basically all the discussion you
That
do,
date,
so that you
that's
can
right.
kind of look
Look
through
it
things
over,
or
that's
whatever.
right.
I don't know if you want to just start budget, budget discussion with department heads at that meeting. I mean,
I'd like to look at it ahead of time, I guess, what they have, you know.
because I will send it out as early as I can, and when I get it, so that you do have a little bit of time, but, I mean, it depends on how,
And you'll have a breakdown of like what meetings and what heads we will be
how do
discussing.
you want to do that is kind of my question.
well, having been through it a number of times. And so that we don't have duplication. The biggest sticking point is always the salaries.
Yeah.
So there's no use the budget heads presenting a budget until we determine what the salary is gonna be. Cause they always, then they don't know what that is, so they come and so the first discussion in this thing needs to be salary. That needs to be on the first budget meeting we have, and probably on the second and third too. And that's, once that is determined, the rest of it goes pretty easy.
Okay. So, do you think we just do the June 8th and just look at it, and then the next one start, or do we discuss that
Or do you want to have all department heads here so that we can discuss the salaries on the 8th, so
Well-
that then it kind of goes pretty quickly?
I would like a paper or something written to the commission by consensus of the
Employees.
and stating what their demands are.
Okay.
You know, we had a system in place. We no longer have it in place. It was based on the,
COLA.
yeah, and that got thrown out the window twice now in the last 2 years. And so now are we back to the COLA again this year when it's real high? Hypocrite comes to mind in that instance. I mean, if it was above the COLA the last 2 years, it makes sense to me that the percentage that was above the COLA should be the percentage that's below the COLA this year to even it all out. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I think that's a logical point, is to get to a point where we have parity again. And I don't know how much it was over those 2 years, 2 point something 1 year and 1.6 the other.
1.25 1 year, and I'm not sure about last year.
Yeah.
1.4, wasn't it?
More?
Under, wasn't it?
Over.
I
More.
thought.
So to schedule the budget, you want to review or do the salaries.
Yeah.
And then once that's done, the next meeting, have the then schedule department head to review the rest of the budget. Is that what I'm hearing?
Or do you not want department heads to come in and just have them do up a letter as to why? Is that
No,
what you're
I
saying?
think we should have a consensus on what the what the salary is going to be.
Yeah.
I think, and then once that takes place, a department head doesn't even need to come in if they present their budget and we look at it and say that's acceptable. You don't need to waste the time. Don't need to waste the time of the department head to come in and say, yeah, we agree with you.
All right.
Most of the time, the only disagreement we've had is in the salaries. Now, no doubt there's going to be some disagreement on some of the budgets and what should be spent, and what we do is we look back at what was spent last year and how much did it get used or 2 years ago. That's pretty easy. So individually meeting with the department heads doesn't make much sense if we can arrive at a consensus on the salary.
So basically just have the department heads just send us their salary and their employees' demands on the salary, or what?
Well, what's always happened in the past is it's been a group increase. Again, so we use the COLA. So if the COLA, the cost of living increase went up, same the one they use for Social Security. If it went up 2%, they got a 2% raise. Well, it wasn't going up, and somehow the last 2 years we got off that system and we were giving raises over and above the COLA. So now this year the COLA is going to be up at 8%. And I'm quite sure now that the employees are going to want the 8%. Well, they already took 4% of that in the prior years. Shouldn't it be down? Shouldn't we subtract the prior increases from where it's at now? But that's the negotiation part of this. And
I do believe the department heads want to be there when we discuss their department. I'm not talking salary, I'm talking about their department budget. They want to be there. And we should want them there in case you have a question. You know, why is this that much higher? Or, that kind of thing.
Especially, for
That's
example.
what I'm not talking the salary part. I'm talking about the department scheduling. So when we review that department head is there with us. So if we have questions, or if we need to make changes, we can discuss it like that.
right, Steph, what I was saying is if when they present their budgets, if we don't have any changes to it, there's no need for them to come in and verify that there's no changes.
A lot of the time what we've done is if guys have questions or there is changes, then I've asked that department head to come to the next meeting to discuss it with you guys.
To kind of weed them out, because there's a bunch of budgets that get presented and don't get changed, right?
Well, I'm just thinking, like, for example, the sheriff's department. Give me some, I'm saying that's always fluctuates a little bit.
Oh, sure.
You know, that one's gonna be, this, you know, you follow what I'm saying, that's.
Well,
gonna
so he's gonna turn in a budget, and we're gonna
Correct.
look at it, and we're gonna say it's different from last year, why don't you come in and explain
Yeah,
it to us the
exactly.
next meeting? Yeah,
That's what I'm
that's the
saying.
only process, but it say the Historical Society turns in a budget, and it's the same as last year, and we say,
Right.
no need for you guys to
Come
come in,
show
it's
up,
good,
yeah.
yeah. Just to speed things up.
So basically just have them turn everything in, and if we want explanations, we just have them come in type of deal.
After we first arrive at
Yeah,
at
the
at
salary, yeah.
I think to expedite everything, that's always been the problem.
I guess I still want to be able to, each department head to have present, you know, sometime, you know, their side of the story, you know, on that, you know.
So even if we don't have questions, you want them to come in. Is that correct?
Or should we just have them present the salaries, and if we have questions on the salaries, have them come in?
Well, the salaries typically don't vary. The salaries are usually, if one salary goes up, they all go up the same amount.
Okay.
So we arrive at a consensus there, and then because otherwise, how do you make this equitable for everybody? So you get a raise and you don't, and you do and
No,
I do.
I get what
So
you're
it's all got to be the same, and that's why the salaries for the treasurer, the auditor, the base salaries were all set at the same salary, so that it was equitable.
How about this? I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. How about this? Ask the department heads if they wish to be there when we're going over their budget. And if they do wish to be there during that time, we can schedule a time that, yep, be here at 3 o'clock is your time, or the budget, you know. And then if they don't want to be there, they don't care, or just let them know schedules if we have to change, then we need to give them the option. Because last year, I believe they ended up sitting in the meeting, the whole meeting, to see if they were in a section. And that was a waste of time, because we sat there the whole meeting going over keeping the budget, wondering, are we gonna get to?
There's parliament, yeah.
So how do you determine? How do you determine these time slots? Because you never know the amount of time it's going to take for the discussion for each department.
Yeah.
So there's no way to schedule a time slot. Again, I think turn them all in. We'll look at them. If we agree with them, it's done. If we don't agree with them, then we can schedule a discussion about that.
Correct.
I don't see why that's. I mean, if we agree with their budget, what are they going to come in and say? Yeah, I'm glad you agree with me. Agreement's agreement.
I do believe
Negotiation.
last year, I do believe last year, at budget season, I had one thing that I wanted to discuss, but it was just thrown out right away.
Mhm.
I didn't get to come to the meeting. I sat in a meeting, waited for my turn, and then of course, other things took a little bit longer, but then the next meeting, the meeting before or something, I had requested a new desk, and it was just thrown out, so I wasn't able to come in. I wasn't notified to anything like that, so I do think the slots are,
For things like that, if it's the opinion of the majority of the commission that there's no new desk needed, there's no discussion about it. We are the final say in the spending of the money.
no, I know, I'm just
So-
saying, like,
so-
I wasn't able to say, hey, like, I'm the only office that has desks from the old courthouse, cause we are, but obviously, like, that was my argument, but I wasn't able to do that, cause I was at the meeting, my my budget wasn't up yet, I wasn't able to go to the next meeting, and then it got thrown out, and then my budget was approved, and then I wasn't able to come back, so.
And how have you done with your old desk?
No, it's fine, my desk is fine,
My
I'm just
point.
saying, like, that.
My point. And so let's not get into the weeds
No,
about this.
I know,
We're
I know.
talking
I'm just
about
saying
the.
my argument of why I
We're-
do think the idea of having departments head here, because every department head's gonna come either way.
Well, they have the ability to do that, but if they will submit the budget they want, let us analyze that and determine whether or not we think that's correct or not.
Before we drag them in.
Yeah, I mean, we are, this is not a negotiation. The county commission sets the budget. If the elected official or an employee disagrees and the majority of the county commission set the budget amount, that is done for. That's it. There is no negotiation just because an employee or an elected official thinks they should have an item, that should have any bearing on whether or not that item is granted or not. It's the decision of the majority of the county commission based on how much money we have to work with. And every amount of money we have to work with, we have to take from a citizen. So every dime we spend, we take from somebody. There's no pool that all of a sudden, well, yeah, we got some extra money, let's do this or do this or do this. We have to be judicious in this, and that's why the salary is the sticking point in all this. That's the one that we have to determine first. So I again, however you want to do it, but we can set a calendar, but we'll never be able to get the discussions, we'll never be able to meet the times because we don't know what we're going to discuss. So you're supposed to be in at 3 o'clock, and you're supposed to be in at 4, and you're supposed to be in at 5, and it's 5 o'clock and we haven't got done with the first one yet, or it's 10 after 3 and we've got done with all 3 of them already.
So what do we do for the salary then? We just look at, and, do they submit their salary with that, and then we just approve it or don't approve it, or do we just look at everybody's salary and go from there?
It's across the board on the salary.
Well, that's what basically
So the department heads get together and we talk about what we would like to propose.
Okay,
So
and
it'll
that's
just be one big proposal.
that's why I'm asking,
Some
because
do that,
if
some
salary
others,
is
they
separate,
do
if
their
we're going to
own.
base off the salary first, the only reason why I'm asking is, like, do they have to submit all the salaries on that, or we just look at everybody's salary and then figure out what we want to give them from there?
Typically, they've presented a percentage increase.
Okay. And that's basically the departments that they submit their percentage of what they want, and then we just figure out to make it even from there, or what?
No. So right now, all their salaries, they have all the base salary right now the same.
Yep.
Everybody will get the same increase. So if their salary is $10 and they get a 2% increase, they're going to get 12. If their salary is $12, they get a 2%, they're going to get 24.
Yeah, I was only asking, like, do the departments have to separately ask a percentage, and then we go off of that? You know what I'm saying?
So
I'm not saying
really-
splitting them up separately. I'm just asking, do each one have to have their own demand, and then we go off of that demand to make it evenly? That's the only thing I'm asking. I know everyone's got to get. I get that. Everyone's got to have the same percentage across the board. I understand that. I'm only asking, does everyone have to separately submit the salaries to get that percentage that they want?
Oh, is it a process of equalization?
Yes.
No,
Like, do
it's
they
not.
have
No,
do
it's-
they have to submit theirs?
No, it's not. No, they before the discussions ever take place, where if they do it in the lunchroom, wherever they do it, they determine what their percentage of increase is going to be,
Okay.
and they agree on it because we had it agreed upon. There was no argument about it. It was the COLA. The COLA went up. It's just this last 2 years that we've fallen back into this where we're at right now. And the reason the COLA was put in place was to get away from that because the salaries were all over the board. It was a mess.
But I think one of the things to clarify for you, each department submits a budget with the salaries in it, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
So each budget has the salaries in it, but they kind of get pulled out, but the budget is department by department, so the employees are within each of that department budget, but the
So
commission decides as a whole for the employees what the cost of living increase is. So it is each budget is submitted as an individualized budget with those employees from each of those departments in there, but that doesn't mean that it's not predetermined by the commission. The commission, they're kind of pulled out of there because they're predetermined whatever the percentage that the commission chooses for the raise. But each department has their own budget with their own employees in it, so it is listed in each department.
So to simplify it, in years past when we were using the COLA, everybody was putting forward a budget knew that, let's just say the COLA that year was 2%. They would apply the 2% to their salary and turn in a budget.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know if like this department wants a 2%, this department wants a 4%, and we had to figure out a median and then give them the even percentage across
We're not
the board.
obligated to anything like that. We could say we're taking a 10% pay cut across the board, and that would be what would happen. The only thing that obligates us to the employees is, first of all, they need to serve the needs of the county. But like any business, the way you judge whether or not you're paying enough is, are people leaving your company? And how hard is it to bring people into the company? That's how you judge where you need to, what needs to be paid. If you apply that to the county, you can apply that and you can make your own judgments, but we don't have a lot of people leaving, and when people come in, it's pretty easy. So we must be paying a salary that is acceptable to the community. And again, there's no hard and fast rules in this. It's what, if we think the citizens say that we should cut the overall budget by 50%, and we're all in consensus of that, that's what we should do. The citizens get to decide what they want. We just need to determine what the citizens want, which is the hard part. Yeah. So if we can get by the salary thing, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Okay.
That's a big if. And then, of course, we don't have well, I don't know if we got time slots or not, other than the first time slot should be the salaries.
So, and you want to do that on the 8th? So ask all department heads to be here on the 8th to discuss that? Or do you want to get the budgets that day, look them over, and have all departments here on the 22nd?
No, I think we should discuss, get the salary in place before they prepare their budget, so they don't have to do it over again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to discuss?
Right.
No, I think you're basically just asking, do you want them here for when we do the salaries, right?
So you want to discuss salaries at the 18th meeting? Well, I'm sending out budgets on Monday.
Yep. We'll have them do the budgets less the salary.
Less the salary. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when are you talking budget? Or
the first meeting, the first budget meeting, or maybe before the first budget meeting, we got to talk about the salaries.
okay,
Yeah.
so you have the next meeting or the 8th.
The next meeting, let's
Next
talk about the
meeting.
salaries.
Got it.
So the 18th, we'll talk about the salaries, that's what you're saying?
We'll
or-
start it. Yeah.
Okay.
But what it comes down to is, there's never a consensus. The one side always wants more, and finally it just comes down to the commission says, okay, here's what's gonna happen. That's how it works.
Okay, and I just didn't know, do the departments do they have to be here for that, or no?
I like them to be, just so that then everybody gets
Safety
their...
in numbers.
Safety and number.
Okay,
So
got that
that's
handled. Old courthouse, new courthouse. We've kind of been over that, huh?
Yeah.
There is some information here about the insurance on the building.
Okay,
That's on page 25 and
25.
26 and 27.
26 and 27. I didn't see that. So,
That's the new policy.
so the existing policy is under the building authority is the named beneficiary, correct?
Yep, so the building will be insured as the building authority.
Okay. Who requested this?
This is the email that I got back from, or Chelsea and Stephanie got it, for when I submitted all those questions that she had requested. And then Chelsea forwarded it on to me. I was kind of confused as to why
Why
the first one to get it.
is a entity giving quotes to private individuals? Why is this addressed to Chelsea and Stephanie and not the auditor?
Isn't Chelsea deputy auditor, right?
It should have came to me
Yeah,
first.
okay, well, I'm
but-
just saying that
yeah,
she's, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think Sam was the one that inquired, so it doesn't make sense to me why it didn't go to the person that inquired.
Yeah, I sent her all the information. The application got sent from me, so I'm not really sure why I was not the first one, but.
Well, why is Bank Forward disseminating government information to private individuals? Amber Delson needs to be made aware that any correspondence needs to go to the auditor. This is business of the county. This isn't business of two private individuals. They don't have the right to even inquire about a quote. So the quote is $6,000 less. If that is a equivalent coverage, I looked at the lease agreement, and the building authority requires the building to be insured via the lease agreement, and the county commission is the leasee, so we have the ability to approve the change in insurance as long as the insurance, as long as the building authority is a beneficiary. So the bond required the building authority to have insurance. The lease agreement with the building authority to the county required the county to have insurance. So ultimately, as long as the county has insurance and names the building authority as the payee, the county commission can make the decision on whether or not to accept this insurance. If I read that right, that's the way you interpreted it, wasn't it, Jamie?
I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it saves $6,000, is that where?
Looks that way,
At
yeah.
the bottom line?
Yep. And is the renewal date the 7th, or is it in August sometime? Isn't it?
Yeah, first of July.
Yeah. So if you want to think about it till next meeting, we got a little time. What are your wishes?
It's the same, it's with, yeah, North Dakota
Is it
Insurance
with the
Fund.
same coverage, or did coverages go down? Are we getting less coverage?
We don't know that. I mean, I don't know that by this. I don't know what the.
Is there any way we can get like information on that, Sam?
Yep.
I think the question is whether or not it satisfies the requirements of the lease.
What, do you know what, out of curiosity, you know what it's insured for this courthouse, how many millions or whatever it is, I mean, you know?
This?
No, I mean, what,
Oh.
you follow what I'm saying, what just the dollar, you know?
Well, and I think in order to satisfy our lease, I think it's gonna have to satisfy the bondholder, so we might have to send it off to the bondholder to have them
Correct.
review it.
Yeah.
And there is no bondholder anymore. Now it's a straight out
Yeah.
loan.
Loan, yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. Why don't we just table it to the next meeting, and then that's probably the best thing in that one.
What do you want me to do in the meantime?
I think you have to send it to our creditor to make sure that it satisfies.
First, you need to get the terms of the
Insurance.
insurance, and then the terms of the old insurance, the terms of new insurance, and send it to the creditor and see whether or not they allow that. So is that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'll
That we're tabling this?
Table it to the next meet, to the next meeting.
We have a motion by Tranby to table the insurance on the courthouse until a future meeting, next meeting, I would imagine. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed. Future business.
Sales tax ratio, is that staff? Staff still there?
Give her a second. There's a delay.
1,000, 2,000.
I'm here.
Told you.
I think you mean sales ratio.
That's what I meant, correct. Is that about due to become up again for the discussion on that too, or not? Right? Ooh, ye-
I mean, I think
She did it, I know.
Sent
but
it in, right?
She sent it in.
So what happens is, after it's sent in, the state will analyze it and come back and say you're below 90% or above 90%,
Correct.
and then we
Go from there.
go from there. Yep.
Yeah, so there's nothing come back yet then, right, Sam?
You sent it in, Steph?
We need a different phone for her. Blech. I understand
But yeah,
that.
that's how that typically
Okay.
works, and of course, then we've always set them at 90% and forward.
One other thing, talked about Hook. He said about, he doesn't have a vest. So safety, or armor, or their vest. Okay, I remember this discussion about 2 years ago when we had for Dalton, we had to get one from him. We took it out of a COVID fund or something like that to pay for it. Brian's got one and Dalton's got one, but Bob does not have anything.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting then.
Okay,
Put parentheses COVID money behind it.
yeah, please. So. That's it, that's all I have.
So we have topics for future business. Are the COVID vest, and that's it?
Did we want the sales ratio study on there, or I couldn't really hear.
Nothing's come back then, right, Sam?
I got the info for sales ratio. I'll email it to Sam.
Okay. Let's put that on next, if we can do that, just see what it looks like, please.
It's not pretty.
God, I can't understand her.
It's not great, she said.
Oh, okay, well, I can't understand. She by Zoom, or what is that? What's going on?
She's on her phone.
Oh, that's
She's
what's
probably on speakerphone.
Oh,
It's
that's what's
probably
happening.
interfering.
Okay, yeah, oof.
Oh,
You sound,
you know what? I have my earpods in, so I suppose I'm feeding off of that. I'm sorry, guys.
yeah. It's kinda like listening to the.
Sounds like you're
Snoopy.
underwater.
Sound like on Peanuts thing. Whap.
Well, barring no further
Anyway.
business, we need a Tranby.
That would be me.
Okay,
Motion
is it
adjourned. Now I can hear you. Make a motion to
Wow,
adjourn.
now I fixed it. I'm sorry, you guys should have said that earlier.
Yeah, now it's.
Motion by Tranby to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. 4:43. Next meeting, this room, Thursday, May 18th at 2:30.